Hello, this is Maurice Ross, and here is my legal rant of the day. I want to discuss today Donald Trump's attempt to fire officers of independent agencies that were established by Congress. This includes members of the boards of the National Labor Relations Board, the Center for Disease Control, the Federal Reserve Bank, and many others. Donald Trump has taken the position that he could ignore congressional legislation that established that members appointed to these boards can be fired only for cause. The president cannot fire these people for political reasons or for even policy reasons. Instead, Congress has determined that these independent agencies must consist of boards that have members who have staggered terms and who are nonpartisan. They're supposed to be experts in their fields. And Congress has the power to set up these agencies, and Congress has the power to set up the terms upon which a member of this agency can be discharged. And members of the National Labor Relations Board, the Center for Disease Control, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Reserve Bank, and many other such agencies involved in consumer protection are appointed for long terms and can only be fired for cause according to the law. Congress has always been understood to have the power to create agencies to carry out the law. Congress passes the law. Congress passes agencies which carry out the law. For example, the Center for Disease Control is supposed to be a nonpartisan organization that makes appropriate policy recommendations concerning health and safety issues, including, for example, vaccines. It's supposed to be nonpartisan. The members are supposed to be experts in their field. Congress has recognized that the government, if it is to operate efficiently, must rely on experts. And it must rely on experts who are objective, who bring their scientific expertise to the plate. And that no president should be permitted to come into office and fire these experts. Now, the Republicans complain that these experts represent the deep state. They're elitist. These experts kind of take over the country, but that's not what happens here. Congress is an equal branch of government to the executive. In fact, it is Congress that passes the laws, not the executive. And when Congress passes a system of laws, it has the right to establish an agency to enforce those laws, such as the Federal Food and Drug Administration. And Congress also has the power to dictate who serves on the boards of these agencies, because the courts have long recognized that it is important to have independent, nonpartisan experts serve in these positions. Unfortunately, however, Donald Trump is turning the world upside down and has decided that he alone, as the king, has the right to fire at will any of these experts with whom he disagrees, or who should dare to disagree with him on matters of policy. And he has moved forward to fire numbers of people. Most recently, he fired the newly appointed head of the Center for Disease Control because she disagreed with Robert F. Kennedy on some matters relating to vaccines. The firing of this new appointee to the Center for Disease Control has led to a mass exodus of the experts on whom we rely for independent, objective advice. Donald Trump didn't like the statistics that were coming out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, so he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he didn't like the objective scientific evidence. I submit he does not have the legal power to fire these people. He is breaking the law. He is abusing his power. Congress decides that these agencies should be set up. They decide who administers these agencies. The president is obligated to follow the law, and that includes the law that requires experts be nonpartisan and that they be dismissed only for cause. Now, the Supreme Court long ago issued the landmark case of Humphrey's Executive versus the United States that established the limits on the president's power to remove officials from independent regulatory agencies. And the Humphreys case clearly established that the president does not have the power to unilaterally fire people from independent agencies created by Congress without cause. Donald Trump is running roughshod over that long-standing precedent of the Supreme Court, but here's why. The Supreme Court has thus far let him get away with firing all kinds of people from every agency other than the Federal Reserve Board. And the Supreme Court, in its shadow docket, has seemed to indicate that they are prepared to overrule Humphrey's executive. That would reflect a fundamental misunderstanding of the balance of powers among the branches of our government. Congress has always been recognized to have the power to create independent agencies and to structure them so that the experts who serve on those agencies are nonpartisan and can only be removed for cause. After all, government does a lot of very complicated, important things. The regulation of health, the regulation of drugs, the regulation of firearms, regulation of consumer protection. These are complicated areas. The regulation of the environment. These are areas that require a great amount of scientific expertise. They also require a commitment to objective facts as opposed to partisan nonsense. Donald Trump has decided that his ideology, his partisan beliefs, his political interests should take precedence over the objective facts. And if he doesn't like the statistics that come out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, he fires the head of the Bureau. So Donald Trump thinks he should have the right to doctor the books. That's true, even though Congress has decided, no, we need objective statistics. We want to have the objective facts. Congress has the right to make that decision, and the president does not have the right to override Congress. Congress is a co-equal branch of government. Unfortunately, however, the conservatives on the Supreme Court seem to be buying into this unitary executive analysis, and they seem to be ready to overrule the Humphreys Executive versus the United States case, which I think would be a grave mistake. They've already allowed Trump to fire people, at least temporarily, from a number of agencies without cause. This is a grave abuse of power by Donald Trump. And it reflects the fact that Trump is acting like a dictator, frankly. He is an authoritarian figure. He does not respect the rule of law. And he thinks he's the only one in the world who knows the answer to important questions. He doesn't respect the law as established by Congress. Doesn't really respect court orders. We've seen this administration time after time violate court orders. And right now there are several cases in which administration officials are the subject of contempt proceedings for violating court orders. Folks, we face a constitutional crisis. We have a president who thinks he's above the law, who thinks he is right no matter what happens. He thinks whatever the president says is right. And that is fascism. We have a president who is using our military to invade cities on the pretext that crime is erupting when in fact the statistics show otherwise. We have a president who in every way is abusing his power in support of partisan goals, in support of ideological objectives, and for the purposes of maintaining power. Does anyone believe that when we come to 2028, Donald Trump is going to concede that he cannot run for a third term. I fully expect that unless the Democrats take control of the House and the Senate in 2026, that Donald Trump is going to assert that he's a dictator, that elections don't matter, and that he can continue in office for at least a third term. Folks, we are in big trouble. We need to stand up for democracy and make your voices heard, because this man, Donald Trump, is destroying the fabric of our constitutional system with every day, with every move that he makes. Thank you.